And my way of speaking could immediately experience amelioration if whenever I actually talk to real native speakers. If you ever actually trace back my history, you'd actually notice that whenever I had a pleasant, jolly conversation with a real life people who've been normally spending their lifetime in that language, regardless of their races or ethnic backgrounds, I actually demonstrated a bit of improved understanding of their circumstances. And I do not really need to seriously, pummel my head to bring out the answer that would be appropriate. This has nothing to do with racism. Don't try to actually, shut me down into that category for the sake of your convenience, because you have every reason and motive to actually harass me in that way. This is totally non-transcribed material. I've never actually had a written down any type of transcription. This is a non-transcribed substance that I'm delivering off the top of my head, which is called in English off the top of my head, in case you're interested in learning new expression. I betcha you would have probably never heard of it, right? But the thing is, these are really kind of easy, comfy situation. I don't really need to wage a cultural war against those people who just really kind of, dispel me from this type of illusion. You know what? Let me tell you something. The tables are now being turned. You're really the one who should actually peel your eyes off. I'm actually more than willing to, spend my money to actually, get your eyes peeled off. I'm actually more than willing to actually, using my money, cough up costs to wage a war against them, to stifle their constant, desire to harass me. Because, I never hesitate spending my money on this cultural issue, because I'm actually thrilled to witness the very demonstration and the manifestation and execution and implementation of my dreams by working heavily on this substance. Doesn't matter. When was really the time you care much about how many hours have I used for this progress? Since you've been actually saying that, I've been actually really good at spending a little bit amount of time, superficially, skating the surface as if I would actually smattering knowledge. I would only have a smattering knowledge of something by spending a little bit of time by actually covering the gist for the test materials and substances to actually, perform really well on the test, or trying to actually gain a certain, very shabby and a shallow understanding of a certain issue by looking, one side that was shot. If I ever actually spend a lot of time, they say that, she is just average person who just, massively outspend her revenues and times and energies to compete with other people. Because she has never been smart, that's really the reason why she really needs to, overwork to be in the same league. Because, all things that she had done would actually be composed of enormously outspent hours and the times and the mechanism. That's really the argument. They are normally making this type of, different, opposite, antithetical aspect, constantly trying to, put a noose around my neck. I've been actually sick and tired of this kind of handling. How would you actually make this type of flip-flop with no conscience at all? You guys must be really scrupulous, because I can never actually believe that how these two people actually make this kind of a switch on and off, just trying to actually make this argument. They are AC/DC by turning this, all on and off. I don't really understand it. At one point, they said that, she only actually know the, a very surface, intermediary or primary substance, elementary substance, because she never actually spent a lot of time. She only actually, finished in a 1 or 2 book for test drill. Then she pretended to be, be all and end all for, very perfect knowledge. She just actually, connotated this pretension, which seems so ugly to tolerate, according to, the mouth of a Kang Yi-jae and Kim Il-ki. Those fuckers, constantly actually smash this argument to actually, dismantle the very understanding of mine. I've been already actually so done with this kind of argument, because I have already realized that how far they had gone in the past to create a serious hamper that might actually, put me in a mud swampland. I feel like I've been actually handcuffed in with the invisible shackles. And it's time for me to break away from it. And I will never actually hesitate. This has been truly improvised statement, because I've never even thought about that I would have this kind of conversation at this moment. I never actually really need to rely on, quote and unquote, you probably have noticed that it depends on whom I would have a conversation with, right? I mean, I'm not lying. I don't really want to blame other people. They're really perfectly amazing people, but there are certain circumstances, because when I was speaking on the phone, I would normally actually be under enormous pressure because of liaisons. What if, someone never actually heard this? What if someone actually never understood what I actually said? These kind of constant doubts normally undermine my efforts. Even if this was never been written, I can actually say something with no hesitation or no heavy slow down and deceleration per se. You understand this deceleration. You know, whatever that actually got me in the way, that actually could lower down the speed, right? But I just really don't want to see much about it.